So in this video we will discuss about a very important topic of C programming, that is variable, and this is the part 1 of this video, part 1 of this variable class. Okay, so in this class we will understand what are the rules and regulations for writing the variables, what are the types of variables, how we can define the variables in the program, and we will understand the basic concepts of the variable. Okay, so let's start the class now. And in C, basically, first of all you need to understand what is the variable. So variable is nothing, it is the storage location in your computer memory where you store some data. Okay, so let's see some diagram here. So this is your computer memory. Okay, and you want to store some data, so you for storing that data you have to create some container inside this memory. So this container is nothing, basically it is a variable. This is variable. Okay, and this variable is inside the computer memory. Okay, so this will store some data. Actually, this will store some data, and this data can be of multiple type. It can be integer type, it can be float type, it can be character type. Okay, and we are giving some name we are giving some name to this variable. Suppose I am giving the name A. Okay, so first of all, when you are writing variable you need to understand the syntax, how to write the variable name. Okay, so first of all, when you are writing variable name, so here before writing variable name you have to define some data type. Okay, so we can also go through some examples here. Suppose this is variable name, so before variable name a data type integer has been used. Okay, and because this is a data type, this is integer type of variable, that is why it is holding integer value. Similarly, salary is another variable, and we are able to see the data type before the salary, that is float. So this is float type variable which is holding floating value. Okay, similarly here this is another variable which is character type. Okay, so this is character type variable and this is holding character data. So it is very important for us to define the data type before writing the variable name, otherwise we will get confused, like the data where we need to store the data in exact location we will not find. So suppose I am taking 3 containers and I am naming them A, B, C. Okay, so these containers are basically variables, and in which I will store some values. Suppose I am taking integer data 25 and float data I am taking 5.6, 5.4 and character data. Okay, so here we are not able to understand, like suppose I would say ki you need to store this integer data at some memory location. Okay, but here no data type has been mentioned. Okay, no data type has been mentioned, so I will not understand where I need to store this value. I need to store in this container, I need to store in this container, I need to store this value in this container. I will not understand. Similarly, this will happen with all the data type. Okay, so without defining data type before the variable name, you cannot store the values, you cannot store your data inside the variable. Okay, so suppose I'm giving, I'm writing data type in integer data type before the variable name. Okay, so yes, I get to know, okay, this value will store here. Now I get to know the location. Similarly, if I will use float data type here, so yes, now I have clarity. This float data type will store here. Okay, this is same for character data type. And suppose I am using character data type, so this character data will store here. Okay, so what we can see, what we can understood, what we can understand, like when we are writing any variable, we it is necessary, it is very important for us to define the data type. Otherwise we will not be able to store our data at particular location, at correct location. So in this slide we will understand the rules for writing the variable. Okay, so rule number first. So rule number first, when you are writing variable name or when you are defining the variable name, so the variable should start with letter or underscore. Okay, so we will see some examples related to this, related to these rules and regulations, and we will also understand what are the valid variables and what are the invalid variables. And second rule say, your variable cannot start with numbers. Okay, so it is very important to understand, like variable should start with letter or underscore. Variable should not start with numbers. When you are writing variable name, okay, so when you are writing variable name, okay, so no space should be allowed in between these two characters, in these two words, basically between these two words, not characters. And you cannot use keywords as a variable name. Okay, so we will understand what are the keywords, what are the types of keywords in the coming classes. So in the C, basically there are 32 keywords, and these keywords have special purpose, and these keywords cannot be used as a variable name. Okay, so when you are using, okay, so when you are using these keywords as a variable name, your variable will be invalid variable. And C is case sensitive programming language. So what is case sensitive? Let's create two variables of different alphabetical order, alphabets. Suppose I am taking it is one variable is a small a, another variable is a small a. They will consider these two as a same variable. They will consider, but these are the different variables. Small a and capital A has different meaning. Okay, that is why we are saying like C is case sensitive programming language. Now we will see the valid variable names. Okay, so here we are able to see some variable names actually. So age is a variable name. Okay, so before basically this you can understand, like age is starting from characters and it is following rule number 1. Okay, so what your rule number 1 is saying, your variable name should start with letter or underscore. So this variable name is starting from letter, so this is valid variable name. Second, we see student and ID. Okay, so here we are using underscore. which is separating these two words, basically student and ID. And this is also following rule number 1. Okay, so this is valid variable name. Another is float mark. Okay, float mark. So this is also valid variable name. Why? Because no space has been used between these two words. Okay, yes. So in rule number 3 you can see no spaces should be allowed when you are writing variable name. So let's see what are the invalid variable names. Okay, so invalid variable names are first one here, because it is starting from letter, and in second rule we can clearly see your variable name should not start with letter, but it is starting, so it is invalid variable name. Here you can see this is also invalid. Okay, because space is given between these two words. So in third rule number 3 you can see no spaces should be allowed, but here we are mentioning space, so it is invalid. You cannot take this, you cannot write these kind of variables in your program actually. And third is also invalid because here the keyword is being used. So integer basically a keyword which cannot be used for writing the variable name. So rule number 4th, in rule number 4th we can clearly see keywords cannot be used as a variable name. Okay, so from this slide you could understand the valid what are the valid variables, what are the invalid variables. Now we will understand one program also. So first of all you can see this is the header files, this is the library basically, and the full form of this standard input output library. Okay, and dot h is defining it is header file. So it is very important to include this header file before writing any program, or in the top of the program we write this header file. Okay, because it has multiple inbuilt functions that we can use in the program. Okay, so here you are able to see printf. So printf has already been mentioned in this file. Printf, these functions has already been written here, and you can also see the return. Okay, so this is written here, int main. Okay, when you are forgetting, when you are not writing this header file, then your program will not compile. Your compiler will throw some errors. Okay, and it will ask you to add the right header file. So you need to understand. So after adding this header file you can see the int main, this is the starting point of any program. So the execution of your program would start from here. Okay, so after that the curly brackets will be used. So these curly brackets are basically closing your program. Okay, so here in after int main function, or inside the int main, this section is basically instructions or multiple statements. So this is statement actually. So every statement should end with semicolon. Suppose you are not using semicolon, then your compiler will give you error. Okay, so it is very important to use semicolon after any statement. These are the statements basically. Okay, And here you are able to see this is the age is a variable, and before the age we are able to see the data type. Okay, so height is another variables and float is a data type before the height. So basically the data type before the variable define what type of data you can store in that particular variable. Okay, suppose here the we are using character data type before the grade variables. So this means you would only store the character data in this variable. You cannot store integer type data here. You cannot store float type of data here. Okay, because you have already mentioned the data type. Okay, so the data type indicate you data type indicates like programmer can store what kind of data in that particular variable. Okay, so this is very important section you need to understand. After that you are able to see some functions, basically printf, okay, and return. So return means like your program is completing here. Okay, successfully completing here. And this section here you are able to see identifiers. Okay, so these are basically identifiers. So in coming classes we will also understand these what are the identifiers, what is the meaning of identifiers. Okay, and basically, but here I will give you some small brief on the identifiers. So basically identifiers are used to deal with different type of different type of variables. So here suppose I'm using integer data type, so this age is integer data type, so I'm using percentage d. And here I'm dealing with float data type, float variable, so I'm using this identifier. And here I'm using a grade character type of variable, so I'm using character uh, percentage c identifier. Okay, so we can understand like for different type of variables we have different type of identifiers. If I will not use these identifiers, then I will not get the result here. I will not get the result on the output. I will not get the output actually. So when you are compiling your program, so your program will throw some errors or it will not give you the output. So that is why we need to use identifiers. So let's see what is the meaning of printf. Okay, so when you are using this printf function, this is inbuilt function written in a standard input output library. And when you are using this, the purpose of this to give you the result on console screen. Okay, so whenever you want to see like what type of data you have stored in this variable. Suppose here you have stored integer type data. Now you want to see this data, what value you have stored in this variable you want to see on the screen, so that for that purpose you will use printf function. So we will see there are multiple functions which can be used in the program. Okay, but those functions we will deal with in coming videos, not now. So now we will understand the types of variables. So first is local variables. So basically local variable is declared inside the function. So here if you are learning C programming first time, then you will also get confused. You will get confused like what is a function. So basically function is nothing, it is the block of code. These are the code blocks. These are the block of code. Okay, that can be written for different purpose. So for different task there would be different functions for the different task. And in the coming video we will also understand in the what are the functions, what are the type of functions, how we can use the functions in the program, we will understand. So first of all, I will give you a small brief about the functions. So suppose this is your main code, this is your main code, this is your complete main code actually. So this complete program is divided into the function blocks. Okay, so this block, this is the one function block, this is second function block, this is third, fourth and five. Okay, so these are the different function blocks, and the purpose of these different blocks will be doing different actions. Okay, so it gives you the clear programs. Basically you can easily understand what is written in the program. So basically when you are dealing with the functions, when you are writing the functions, then you can understand your program. Your program would be clean, neat and clean and organized. Okay, so that we will see, and we will also do some programs on the functions related topic, but in not now, but in coming videos we will understand. So another is global variables. So basically these variables are declared outside the functions, outside all the functions. Okay, suppose this is your this section is your function related section, and there would be some area outside of this function, so that here we would define the global variable. So global variable will be written outside all the functions, so that whenever you are writing global variable here, so your variable or data stored in this global variable can be used or can be accessed by all the functions basically. So this is function, and we are defining, initializing the global variable outside the function. And third type is static variable. So basically so here you are able to see count is a variable name, and this is the data type, and this is static is keyword. Okay, static is keyword. So basically when you are using this static keyword, so it means your variable or the static variable will retain its value between the function calls. Similarly you can see the a register variable. So basically register variables are those variables which store in the CPU registers. So we will understand like what is the CPU registers. This is also a memory basically inside the CPU. So basically if you talk about the CPU memory is made up of multiple registers, millions of registers basically. So these are the registers. Registers are basically memory units which hold some data. Okay, so if you want to store the values or the variable in the CPU register, so you have to use this keyword before the data type of the variable. Okay, so when you are using this keyword, so that the variable will store automatically in the CPU register. So here we understood the types of variable. Okay, so there are 4 types of variable. So guys, in interviews such kind of questions are highly asked. And now we will see one interview definitions which is very important. Okay, so a variable, what is a variable? So this is important or a good definition of the variable. A variable is named memory location, okay, used to store data values that can be modified during program executions. So so this kind of definitions you need to give in the interview. Okay, so when you want to crack interview related to the C programming, So you have to prepare all the things related to and every topic of the C programming. So we understood a lot many things related to the variables. I hope you would understand or you would get some idea related to the variables. Okay. So in the coming videos we will understand we will do some programs related to the variables, so you will get more ideas, and we will also understand the data type. We will also understand the identifiers. So the person who is watching this video can like and subscribe the channel so that new video can be reached to him. Okay, and thank you guys for watching this video. Bye, take care.